And stream across the river San. This was part of the river line which the invading army forced in its flanking drive through southern Poland. The Nazi Führer makes a quick tour in the conquered nation among the soldiers in captured towns. In the city of Lodz and on top of the car, guards with drawn pistols. In a cloud of dust, and then through the clouds of the sky, by plane, Hitler flies to survey what he has done, the destruction of a nation. Poland divided between the Nazi Germans and the Soviets. He has an air view of the devastation that he decreed. A bombarded Polish flying field. Good view of what attack from the sky achieved. The flying field pitted with bomb craters. Hitler seeks to identify himself with the army. He refers to himself as a soldier in active service. And here he stops and has a bite with the troops. He's described as a vegetarian, and maybe he gets a lettuce sandwich as he fraternizes with the fighting men at an army canteen in prostrate Poland. Fraternizing by signing autographs. There's a rush of soldiers, hundreds want autographs, and they crowd around. There are too many to sign for them all. Enough is enough. A scene in the tragedy of Poland. Destruction from the sky hit far and wide. Railroad centers bombed like that one. Polish communications were swiftly disrupted by the air raiding. How the bombs rained down is shown by the shell craters. An armored train blasted, devastation where devastation counted most. Poland never really did get mobilized. The blitzkrieg swept through like lightning. Poland partitioned. The German commander-in-chief, General von Brauchitsch, congratulates soldiers who distinguished themselves on the Vistula front, the general who directed the strategy of the Lightning War. Berlin, the funeral of General von Fritsch, former German army commander whose death reported in battle brought speculation and mystery. That's Field Marshal von Mackensen, the old Prussian army man who gives military, not Nazi salutes. At the front, Germans and Russians meet. Poland defeated. The Soviets push in to seize a share. Here at the fortress of Brest-Litovsk, the German and Red Army commanders formulate an agreement. And there's a proclamation. The Nazi communist arrangement of such fateful meaning, the existence of a nation signed away. Then the German and Soviet commanders hold a joint review. Nazi war equipment passes. German and Soviet war leaders in collaboration. Soldiers of the Red Army watching, and this amazed the world. A unified military demonstration. A Soviet tank. The Hitler-Stalin non-aggression pact has led to the partition of Poland. Danzig, Hitler in the city, the dispute over which led to the European war. This Nazi demonstration was staged the day before Hitler flew back to Berlin and made his latest speech suggesting peace, which Great Britain and France reject. Hitler faced with the prospect of a long, relentless war. In Poland, the battle is over amid scenes of destruction. British and French could give no aid. The focus of war moves to the Western Front. The German command can shift the conquering army, the Blitzkrieg machine, 1 million men to face the armies of the Allies. So the columns are streaming westward. Soldiers who have been marching and fighting afar get newspapers from home. They hope that peace will come soon, but there is no news of peace. The war still goes on. They've won a swift, overwhelming victory in Poland, but the battle to come will be harder. Next stop, the Western Front. Siege of the doomed capital of Poland, the city under bombardment. Blasted and burning for 3 weeks, one of the bravest defenses in history. The hopeless resistance of devastated Warsaw. Hitler visits the besieging army during his tour in conquered Poland, which is subjugated and partitioned. The defending army shattered by the lightning strokes of the Blitzkrieg, the Nazi Führer has the air of a conqueror as he surveys the artillery bombardment of Warsaw, which still resists, but cannot resist much longer, a capital city wrapped in flame and horror. Thus, he meets the German commander. The defenders of Warsaw hoped to get aid from Great Britain and France, but the Allies on the Western Front were powerless to save them. German General Blaskowitz receives the surrender of Warsaw from the Polish emissary representing the garrison. The stern-faced commander of the besieging army lays down the terms, illustrated on a map for the Polish officer to see. This is an historic picture document of the entrance of the invading army at dusk. This marks the end of the war in Poland. The Germans in Warsaw, there in front of the old historic cathedral. Prisoners of war, more than 100,000 of them captured when the city fell. Elsewhere in Poland, the Germans took myriads of prisoners, and the interminable lines trudging along symbolize the swift destruction of a nation, the tragedy of Poland.
As for Soviet fighters, we in Britain are full of admiration for their resolute resistance to the German onslaught. Leningrad, for example, the second city of the land, its name a memorial to Lenin, founder of the Soviet republics. Here, army and people have not only combined to halt the aggressor, but they have hit back hard. Weeks ago, the Germans boasted that Leningrad was theirs, just as week after week they boasted of the road to Moscow being open. In a war against Russia, the taking of Russian towns and cities is far from winning the campaign. Only the destruction of the spirit of the people could do that, and their spirit is indestructible. Thanks to the tenacious defenders of Leningrad and Moscow, there is one road anyway that is decidedly not open, the road to the defeat of our great ally. Behind the German frontline tanks and troops, all over the immense area of fighting, Soviet partisans or guerrilla bands harass and kill the enemy. Weapons are there in plenty, and daring plans of ambush are constantly being carried out. As the German line of communications lengthen, more and more opportunities for such attacks are being provided. These warriors who know the penalty of capture are carefully selected from thousands of volunteers, and they take a solemn oath of allegiance when they join.
Items of film news from the Far East include the story of the bogus Japanese hospital ship Tachiban Maru, captured off Australia. Cases of 75mm shells marked medical supplies were found on board, as well as 1,500 Japanese soldiers listed as patients. They were taken to American POW camp. Would-be world conquerors of the East, with hands up, coming in at the double. Aboard the American battleship Missouri, chosen as the scene of formal surrender by Japan, Admiral Halsey, Admiral Rawlings and staff officers drink a toast to victory. It's a way they have in both the British and the American navies. Ashore, not long before he reached Tokyo, General MacArthur addresses some of his men on the same subject.
I hope from the bottom of my heart that this is the end of the war. If it is largely due to your own splendid effort. Very shortly, I trust we'll all be going home.
And here, escorted by American fighters, come the Japanese surrender envoys flying in white planes marked with green crosses as directed. Their radio code word was Bataan. That should have made them think. Anyway, they landed on the island of Ie, near Okinawa, en route for Manila. Leader of the mission was the Vice Chief of the Imperial Staff, Lieutenant General Kawabe, and no time was wasted on him or the rest of the delegation. Their planes were shoved to the side of the field, for Jap planes were permitted to fly no further. And then the surrender mission of 16 climbed aboard an American C-54 transport. This was taking them to Manila, where they would receive orders regarding arrangements for the actual surrender formalities to be held later. A picture to remember, for it was the first time in history that Japan had sued for peace. Rendezvous on A-Day. Admiral Blandy in command of Operation Crossroads. On the decks of the 73 target ships anchored in Bikini Lagoon, there is great activity. Animals are put aboard the ships, taking the place of human crews, in order that the experiment may show how to counteract the effects of atom bombs. A number of the sheep and goats were shorn. Special ointments were applied to determine their protective quality. Many samples of pigments, metals, and fabrics were placed aboard to see how they'd react. As HR draws near, crews of the target vessels abandoned ship with their gear. Elaborate precautions were taken to see that no one had been left aboard. Captain Bibby, the last man to leave, had remained to make a final check. As he departs, the all-clear signal is seen flying. The Bikini fleet is ready. 240 miles away on Kwajalein, the atom bomb, carefully screened, is wheeled to the B-29 that's about to carry it to Bikini. Not even a glimpse of this epoch-making missile is permitted. Majors Wood and Swancut, bombardier and pilot, coolly wait for the order to take off. Their crew has been hand-picked, and now it's time to go. Mission Crossroads has begun. Everything goes as planned, and as the aircraft nears the target, the crews are ordered to wear their special goggles to protect their eyes against the atom flash. With goggles, they saw a flash as brilliant as lightning. Those without goggles shielded their eyes with their arms as the world's fourth atom bomb fell. Following the colossal flash, a great cloud rose 7 miles up into the sky. No earthquake, no tidal wave, nothing unforeseen. Some observers said this bomb was less impressive than its predecessors. Others disagreed in view of the difference in the targets. The final official verdict remains a secret. In any case, the collection of scientific information will take a long time to assess. Of the 73 target ships, 5 were sunk, the carrier Independent was badly damaged, and the same goes for the Pensacola. Finally, another view of the explosion from a different camera position. Whatever the official verdict of this £14 million experiment, all can judge for themselves that the world is certainly at the crossroads.
It swept over Florida with terrifying force. Rain fell in torrents, and the wind reached a velocity of more than 120 miles an hour. When Hurricane Donna struck here, it had already caused many deaths and great destruction in Puerto Rico and other places in the Caribbean. Now, as it lashed Florida and the Keys, its vicious performance was being repeated. The damage done is bound to run into millions of dollars, and in spite of timely warning of the approach of the storm, the loss of 4 lives is reported from this area. While Britain was basking in a few days of Indian summer, the east coast of the United States, including later New York, suffered a trail of destruction as Donna continued on her ferocious course.